Very inaccurate play.
Inaccurate play. Why did you? I would have if I had to checkmate with a knight and bishop. I probably would have just offered a draw.
You don't know how to do it?
I mean, I do.
Not very well.
Not very well.
Yeah, I got the move order mixed up. Sorry, he went a3 before I played bishop b7.
That would make more sense.
I think it was in f3, queen g2. I think it was this position he went a3. Yeah, he went here. So
Okay.
Overwrite it.
We'll just promote it.
We're gonna have to cut out some stuff. Yeah.
Yo.
Then he went bishop d3. That's what it was. Knight e5, queen d2. And there's no need to go knight c4 immediately, because if I were to go there, he just says queen c2. So I instead improved my position b5, bishop b7, rook c8. Get pieces where they want to be.
You mean if you went knight to c4, you'd go bishop takes, and queen e2?
Possibly, but I generally know as a rule, because I've played this position before, that going knight c4 immediately is not that great. So based on previous experience, I know you should play b5, bishop b7, rook c8 first before attempting rook c4, because then you have a lot more pressure on the c file and potential for b4 and stuff. More pressure on this knight. So here he played the absolutely ludicrous king to e2.
The ludicrous? Is that like a bong cloud or something?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He's too scared to castle queenside, because then I'm gonna go b4. But he doesn't want to castle kingside because he wants to push all his kingside pawns. So he thinks the king is safe on e2.
That's logic you can expect with 1400.
So I just go, okay. I was like, giving him a frown, and then I was like, the best way to punish something like that is just to play solid. And he's just always gonna have this weak king there. So
get d5 as quickly as possible.
Exactly. So I prepare it, bishop to d7. Now we have
I would guess a rook move.
We have rook a to g1.
No, he didn't do that.
He played it. Preparing g4.
Oh my gosh, you haven't even committed to castling. Your king could just sit on the e8.
My king just sits here the whole game. I never moved my king except towards the end of the bishop and knight checkmate. Rook a to g1, and I give him another frown. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go rook c8 and chill.
Alright, keep making progress.
Now he comes g4. I was like, whoa, I better be careful. And my first instinct was to try to make bishop takes a3 work in some lines, but I figured out, why am I giving up my bishop? And he always has knight takes b5 ideas. Like, that's so stupid. Even if I win a pawn, I'm not trying to win a pawn and give him counterplay. Instead, I go for the idea knight c4.
Ooh, I like that.
With the idea bishop takes queen d3, and now d5 will be played. Even though he gets the queens off the board, my rook on c4 will be a menace to his position, and the two bishops. I mean, plus this rook on h1, I mean, what is he doing? So, I decided, who cares if I trade queens? My position is just totally better. d5. Striking in the center.
Oh my goodness.
He now trades queens, which I expected. Now my rook is just a monster on c4. It just attacks everything. I mean, he's going to have to go king d3 at some point, but that's going to be met with a knight routing itself to e5, potentially. So, I mean, he's in busted. He goes e5, which is a horrible move, because then I can just go knight d7 and slowly crack through his position with this g5 idea.
Yeah, I saw the when you had the bishop to c5.
Yeah, that was
like game.
So, I mean, this is a pretty bad position for him, but because if he ever goes e takes d5, then just knight takes d5, and then my bishops are activated, all his queenside pawns are weak. I mean,
on the positive side, if he didn't have all that pressure to deal with, his king would actually be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have gone for this line, because now his king on e2 is justified.
Yeah.
But I was like, my position's too good. I mean, he's got way too many threats to deal with. So my opponent plays e5, trying to relieve the tension between the pawns by advancing it and gaining space and tempo on my knight on f6. His idea is that his knight on d4 will stay there for the whole game, and my bishop on b7 will never activate itself. However, he is wrong in so many different ways, because I'm about to crack down his whole formation.
Just like that.
Knight to d7, attacking the e5 pawn. Now he plays f4, and I blitz out g5, undermining his solid formation.
Probably the best move so far.
Yeah. now he takes, because my threat is to play g takes f4, and the bishop on f2 would have to retreat, as it is protecting the knight on d4. And if he plays king to d3, then I will go knight to c5 check first, forcing his king back, and then pawn takes f4, and the same issue. So he kind of has to take. Oh, and also if rook f1, then I take, and if the rook takes, then knight takes e5 wins the pawn again. So f takes g5. However, after knight takes e5, I'm not up a pawn, but these double g pawns look horrible, and once this knight moves, e5 and d4 is coming, and these central pawns are just going to wreak havoc on his position.
Unstoppable.
I mean, and this g4 pawn is just horrible. I mean, he's got to waste a move with h3 just to protect it so this darn rook can move. I mean, his whole setup doesn't make any sense. So, knight takes e5, and now he plays another ludicrous move, h4. Just leave. Now this pawn has a permanent weakness, and he's protecting a pawn that I never was going to capture. I mean, this move just essentially wastes a move.
Well, maybe he's just trying to continue his pawn storm.
Pawn storm. Pawn storm on what? On the g6 square? So now I go bishop c5, punishing him. This essentially wins a pawn by force, as if the knight moves, I will play d4, forking the bishop, knight, and this bishop on v7 will activate, attacking the rook in h1. Way too many threats to deal with. So this knight essentially cannot move. It has to stay there. And their only way to protect that knight is with his rook on g1. However, after knight takes g4, he is down the pawn, and the bishop on e3 is hanging, which is reinforcing the knight on d4. So essentially his position is lost now.